Cake is an excellent choice. The fresh pastry always tastes great, but you can derive a lot of different desserts from it. I have 3 propositions for you. We have the basic cake, or you can make a delicious fruity apple pie in no time with a hint of cinnamon. Or we can make from this basic cake these nice-looking, colourful cupcakes.
For the basic preparation of this cake, we only need a few ingredients. The French call it a quatre-quarts cake, meaning we use 4 ingredients in equal amounts: eggs, sugar, flour and Stork. I use 250 grams of Stork, and it's rather important to have soft Stork. I took mine out of the fridge about 2 hours ago for a soft, smooth consistency. All right, 250 grams. Perfect. In a mixing bowl, and I will mix the Stork with the sugar. 250 grams, 4 equal amounts, remember. That goes into the bowl, and we can easily mix all of this with a hand mixer. Start off slowly and gradually pick up the pace, because we really want the batter to be airy. Okay, time for the eggs. 250 grams of egg, that's 4 of them. We add them to the sugar Stork mixture one by one. And there's only the flour left then. Again, 250 grams, to which we will add a small amount, about a tablespoon of baking powder. Now, of course, we'll sift the lumps out of the flour. I start with 1/3, and we will then fold the flour into the batter. And then our final bit. And as a finishing touch, I add a pinch of salt. Meanwhile, we can preheat the oven to a temperature of 180 degrees Celsius. But I'll keep an extra eye on the temperature with this convenient oven thermometer. All right, now we can prepare our cake tin. Traditional baking tin. We'll grease it with Stork. And just to make sure, I will use some baking paper. We don't have to cut it out entirely. Covering the width of the baking tin will do. And it will definitely make our cake come out easily. Before we can start working on our, well, I have to say, extremely beautiful cake pops, we need to bake the basic cake batter like a traditional quatre-quarts cake. So I fill the cake tin to 2/3, then smooth out the surface, and this cake is ready for the oven. 45 minutes at a temperature of 180 degrees Celsius should do the trick. Now make sure you don't open the oven during the first half hour, otherwise the cake might cave in. From the crumbs of the cake, I will make a nice and sticky goo. For that, we need icing. And that is nothing more than the combination of a good knob of Stork and some icing sugar. Together with the cake crumbs, it will produce nice firm little balls. For our frosting, I mix 200 grams of Stork with 200 grams of icing sugar. And just like we did for our basic cake batter, it's much easier to work with softened Stork. It mixes smoothly. Now, I add 200 grams of icing sugar. A simple beater does the trick. For the last few rounds, I use a wooden spoon. Look, now, we have this perfect consistency, which will make our cake pops stick together properly, and it tastes good as well. Our cake should be ready by now, and it smells like heaven, I have to say. Yep. Looks like it turned out just fine. Nevertheless, just to make sure, it tests with the wooden skewer. Just stick it in there for about 2 seconds, and yeah, our stick is completely dry, and we'll put the cake on a grid because it needs to be cooled down entirely before we can start on the cake pops. Cake pops is actually all about decorating. You can totally knock yourself out. So, I plan to melt a bit of chocolate, both white and brown. The easiest way is, of course, to melt big chunks of chocolate or bain-marie on a medium heat. There goes the white chocolate, which is a more difficult one to melt, actually, and then the brown one on the other side. I had a great time going through the cake decoration department, stocking up on all kinds of things to decorate our cake pops. Now, by now, our cake will be cool enough, and it's very important that it's really cold. Now look, that's how convenient baking paper can be. Effortless. We'll cut the largest pieces of crust because I only want the nice white crumbs of the cake. But I'm sure the crusts will find their way to someone with a sweet tooth. The easiest way is to cut the cake in half and to rub both sides against each other and crumble them. Okay, there we are, rub them together. Now, in this phase, you can get your hands in on the action straight away to mix the icing with the cake. Long live manual labour. That looks fine. And now for the big moment, when we can start rolling our little balls for the cake pops. I'm using a plate to let the balls set in the fridge, or maybe in the freezer, which is even more convenient. Online, you have thousands and thousands of different types of cake pops. I'm sticking to the more traditional ones, keeping the size in check. And this is obviously the moment kids really love. Rolling the balls is good fun in itself, but you have to admit that the decorating will be even more amusing. That's how one bowl of batter produces a whole lot of cake balls, which means a lot of decorating fun later on. I will cool these now, and the longer they can cool in the fridge, or maybe even in the freezer, the easier it will be to coat them with chocolate without risking our balls to start floating around in the chocolate sauce, because we really don't want that to happen, do we? And so our chocolate is nice and liquid, ideal to coat the cake pops with. And I let the chocolate sit on the top of the hot water to make sure it stays liquid. For our cake pops, I use a little wooden board with notches, but you could easily use a piece of polystyrene foam as well. Now, as long as it's something we can stick our cake pops in so that the chocolate can set on the little balls. And as long as the sticks have edges sharp enough to pierce or have the right diameter to fit the notches, we are doing well. And in our case, they fit, and now playtime can really start. Now, I think they're cold. And yes, indeed they are. All right, okay, to increase our chance of success even more, I will dip the ends of the sticks into the chocolate and prick them into the cold cake balls. Now, if you've made cake pops before, you will know you really want to prevent them from floating around in the chocolate. Now, this way, we really want to make sure this won't happen so we can get started on the fun part. Tempering the little balls in the chocolate. Now, there are different tricks to get the chocolate around the cake pop. I believe in the simple use of a spoon, scooping it carefully on the balls, and then after a while, well, you'll get the hang of it, so don't worry. And then get rid of the surplus of chocolate by shaking it off. And by doing so, you get that perfect crisp outer layer and the creamy cake on the inside. And now, right before the chocolate has totally dried up, we can dip the cake pops. Now, for example, in these beautiful golden pearls. We can see that our cake pop automatically gets a golden crown. How cool is that? I'm keeping it more traditional, but I can tell you one thing, the googly eye decorations are always a success. We need 2 eyes, obviously. There we go. And a pretty mouth. And in no time we have this lovely sheep, or whatever it is. Let your imagination run wild, because that's what cake pops are all about. Not only in the presentation here, but also in the way they're presented on the table. Lots of possibilities. Now I'm going for an easy choice, a bowl of sugar wrapped in ribbon. Lots of different colours, but also different tastes. And the one with the little hearts on it evidently goes on the heart of our bowl. Now look how beautiful that is. Enjoy.